Hello and welcome to another video. So today we're going to be taking a look at Ramp Dragon. Why? Because Ramp Dragon is still quite good even in this meta. Of course, being one of the top decks along with probably Mid Shadow and Rune and Portal, I would say is right up there if you know how to play it. We've got all the pretty standard early game, you know, triples of pretty much everything that you would need right up until about turn 5 where you go into your neutral package and a few different tech choices that I've made. So the couple things I'm running 2 Frenzied Drake and 1 Imperial Dragoon. Imperial Dragoon is great against, say, Forest or something else like Sword or Blood, which are very uncommon matchups, that's why it is a one of, and it works very well against Portal as well. Being able to hit everything on your opponent's board, including their face, can mean the difference between winning and losing, as you will see in one of our games later. We also got Double Frenzied Drake, which is a card I was a little iffy on to start with, but now I feel is actually really good, especially when running Triple Baha as well, especially since a Frenzied Drake functions on itself. So all your dragon cards, you know, normally you're getting a 3 to 4 damage AoE, which is more than enough to clear most standard swarm decks like Shadow. So I found that was quite good. Other than that, we've got the one of Dreadsea just to combo off with a few other cards. The triple Sakwahill with the double Israfil, mainly because we're also running double Zeus. So you've actually got about 4 cards you really want to be playing off that Sakwahill, which is fine. So that's actually really good. So we'll get right into some games and check it out. So first up on our list is Rune. Rune is a little iffy. I found that burning can be quite a pain when you're trying to get your early game to go off, but you can normally dominate once you reach your clears, just because you are wiping their board basically clear every single turn. So we start off with probably the worst possible hand. A 5-drop and 2 10-drops. Literally nothing we can use them for in this match so far. We're relying on our draws, which actually turned out to be okay. Getting a Blazing Breath and a Dragon Oracle are both good cards and reasonable to use. I had to make a decision on whether to play Oracle or Blazing Breath in this situation. I do decide just to play out the Oracle just because I really want that ramp, because if I don't ramp into Sybil soon, we're going to be in some trouble later on. And the Blazing Breath actually being kept here was good because it means I can clear this Lyriel without having to worry about it, which is just great. I really love getting rid of these Lyriels so they're not a problem. Of course, the Mage is going to be difficult just because I do have to get rid of it, and they are going to have Earth Sigils to basically screw me over. And now I'm in a little bit of an awkward spot. This is where things are difficult versing Rune. If they do run a lot of burn damage, it's really hard to clear out everything you need to and do it consistently. But as long as you're able to get some of your early drops in and a little bit of ramp, you can usually get to your mid game and late game fairly quickly, which is more than enough to usually deal with the Rune players. As you'll see, we're actually in a pretty okay spot after this turn. I mean, we've got the 3-2, which is solid. We've got that 4-3 we've got to deal with. The Piercing Rune really makes things difficult, but we should be able to come back from this. The Sybil alone will actually be a 3 damage heal. Blazing Breath can clean up the 2-2, and we're only really left with that 4-4 Magic Illusionist on board to deal with. Because we definitely have to remove the 4-3 because the Evolve on it would just be too much damage. So really, the next turn we're only going to be like, what, 1 damage out compared to where we were last turn, provided they don't have any other burn damage, which doesn't look like they do. They are going to get a little bit with this 5-4, but we're going to go into turn 9, which is a massive Israfil drop, which will clear out 2 of these and heal for 4. So that's more than enough. After that, we can pretty much follow up with a Queen Zeus or anything really that we want. I do like going into Queen Zeus Dragon Summoner if you've got it, just because Dragon Summoner can pull something else, which can help you restock your hand just a little bit quicker. Especially if you don't really have any other plays and you really have to deal with Burn Rune. Biggest thing to watch out for is Mutagenic Bolt. Luckily they don't seem to have it, and this time I get to clear board and go face, so I'm quite happy with that. So we actually get to put them right on 6 health straight away, which when you factor in Dreadsea actually puts them to 1, so now even if they have Mutagenic, there is absolutely nothing they can do. And we drew Sybil, which is actually going to be great for healing in the next turn if we get that far. So they have 2 cards to work with, one of which is Stasis, so they're actually going to have another card, which I guess I'll settle for. Turns out they did get mutagenic, but with them on 1 health and me on 4, not going to be much help to them. So the next victim of the Dragon Onslaught is Portal. Portal is a matchup where Dragon really has a decent go off. I mean, if you are a good Portal player and you get a little bit lucky, you can usually beat out a Dragon. But most of the time, Dragon's clears are just going to be too much to deal with, which you will see in this match quite consistently. A Dragon can just dominate a Portal matchup. Portal needs basically an ideal draw to even compete against Dragon in this kind of field. So the Magisteel Lion, that's fine. Not too worried about that. If we want to, we can just Blazing Breath that, remove it from the board and not even worry. The main thing about this is to make sure that your health isn't dropping. If you can keep your health healthy, kill off your opponent, you're actually going to be pretty easily going into the late game, which is where Dragon really shines against Portal. So we do get to drop the Dragon Summoner, draw into whatever we can. We have got the Elia Dragon Summoner, and we've got Blazing Breath next turn if we need it, along with this 1/2, which we'll trade quite well, and we'll be able to ramp. So they're the most important things for this turn. I'm still not a big fan of having to use an Evo to ramp, but a lot of the time I found really if you are using the Evo to ramp here, you're normally going to be quite fine. Well, I'm still not a fan of that mechanic. It's definitely a little more balanced, I think. So they're going into turn 5. And of course, setting up the Spinaria. Pretty expected. Luckily, we've got more than enough to deal with these. I mean, I can pretty much drop Sybil, ramp up, kill off the Spinaria, set up for next turn. Now we have Dragon Oracle as well, which will give us a draw next turn. So I think this hand is actually just perfect to deal with everything that we've got on board. We will be having to leave up that 1/1. But I'm really not concerned by that. It's not going to easily trade into the Sybil without wasting other materials, and it's not going to do much on its own. So Cat Cannoneer, that's an okay trade. Double Cat Cannoneer, even better. I guess the problem for them now is they can't really do much else without playing Dez. And now that I've drawn into Dragon Oracle, I can pretty much just use that to get Frenzy Drake. Sorry, I can use the Frenzy Drake next turn after this Dragon Oracle turn to really swing the game. Misspeaking on what I was thinking about, but that's fine. So Hakarabi, fine, not an issue. We're going to be able to wipe out this entire board, I think. I mean, Frenzied alone should be enough with what we've got. Maybe, actually no, I think we've only got 3, so Baha's going to have to come down, because we're not going to be able to remove that 4/4 unless we use an Evolve, and I want to avoid that right now. And of course, Otherworld Rift, not surprising, but better to have it hit a Baha than hit a Zeus. Zeus just has a little bit more value in this matchup just because it is a ward which requires a lot of trading. Whereas Baha can be stalled out a lot quicker. So Frenzy Drake's actually going to get its removal here. I thought, why not use it now? We've got heaps of other neutrals. We've got 3 damage AoE. Better to use that than use, say, Israfil and just wipe the board that way. Especially when I can hide Israfil and Sarkwill in my hand. And this is also a 7/7 body compared to just leaving a 4/4 up, which is much better. So we are going to have to force them to use a lot of their cards here. We haven't seen 16 artifacts yet, so I'm not worried about dying to Beast next turn. And this turn we can easily now use the Israfil to our advantage. We could have also used the Dragon Summoner, but Dragon Scyther, sorry, which would have been fine. But I think this just worked out pretty much perfectly in this matchup. Our opponent's still trying to get whatever they can, but because we have basically unlimited AoE and ward now, you really don't have any worry against this Portal player. Not unless they can manage to do enough of these artifacts that they can use Beast to one-shot us. But with Zeus being able to drop next turn, I don't see that being a problem at all. Because Zeus alone will block out any kind of beast turn they got. And no point using the evolve when I've got 2 Israfils in hand, which will take advantage of it really nicely. So it looks like they are going to look for more ancient artifacts. They probably are going to want to clear this Zeus quite efficiently. We have got Imperial Dragoon, which I am holding just in case I get enough damage to just lethal them. Or if I need it to clear off their board. I really like using Imperial Dragoon to either avoid dying or to go for lethal. They're the only 2 situations I actually like playing it. Any other situation I kind of avoid using it. Especially since I'm not running any kind of Chronos, which could restock my hand effectively. At this point, Israfil's heal is going to put us way out of range of a beast play. A beast play with 20 damage is quite uncommon. You don't see it that often at all. And from here, once we clear this board completely with Blazing Breath, I don't think they're able to come back from this. Because you would basically waste a turn to play Dez, which would be pointless. And you don't really have anything else to deal with a 10-8. So, yeah. Lethal on the way there. And our final matchup is Forest. This one I actually really enjoyed. It was quite an interesting match and required a lot of top deck luck to get to where I was. So our first initial is an Imperial Dragoon, Draconic Fervor, and Sybil. Honestly, none of those is worth keeping in your opener. But our next lot is a lot better. I mean, the Dragon Oracle is great on 2, and the Blazing Breath is fine against Forest. Keeping that Israfil is also not too bad. Plus, we got Dragon Summoner, so what can I say about that? Dragon Summoner's a good card. Being able to get whatever you want, basically, and being able to pull those Frenzied Drakes with Dragon Summoner is actually pretty decent. Or a Dragoon, like, there's just so many good cards Dragon Summoner can pull. Of course, you can run Oro in this deck. I would actually probably recommend that over Frenzied Drake, but I do like Frenzied Drake for most of these matchups because we are seeing a lot of Flood classes where things like Frenzied Drake really deal with them effectively without losing your own board. Even with Triple Baha, just having that extra way to clear and a turn earlier is really nice. So we get to see Insect Lord. Yay! Who wants to play that? No one, because Insect Lord sucks. Anyway, we managed to deal with that quite well. I do play out the 2-2. I know it's probably going to get cleared, but it does draw some damage here. And we've already ramped once, so I don't have a concern about that. Again, another Insect Lord. I mean, I wasn't worried about that getting cleared. That was basically what I wanted. I do have to skip turn 6, which absolutely feels horrible, just because I have nothing to play. So I am going to take a good amount of damage. I mean, if I had have saved the Ayala there, I might have been in a better spot just because I would have been able to evolve trade and ramp up, but I think now I'm actually going to be pretty okay. And again, pretty much passing just because I can't use Breath Salamander to clear this. So we're in probably the worst spot I could possibly be in this matchup. I mean, what am I meant to do now? I thought about using a Frenzied Drake next turn. I've thought about using the Israfil. Not going to be enough to clear all this. The only thing that would have was Imperial Dragoon, which required sacrificing my entire hand. Again, this is the only way I like using Imperial. It's either to avoid dying or just to straight up go for lethal. And at this case, I needed to avoid dying. They are going to try and kill this Imperial Dragoon quickly though. Luckily, Forest doesn't really have that same burst damage it used to. If they had Roach, they probably would have killed me straight away, but because we are in rotation, we don't have to worry about those at all. They do decide to push this out, which I'm fine with. And Isra, perfect draw. I think the only other card that would have been as good as Isra may have been to draw into Zeus, but even then, I would be at risk of dying. At least with Isra here, I get a 10-10 on board, I got to heal for 4, and I get to clear them and deal some damage to their face. Jungle Warden coming down earlier than 10 is great. We did force that, meaning they can't use that for lethal now, unless they have stocked another one in hand. And Zeus. I mean, what else? I honestly did fuck up majorly here. If I had have played Zeus and rammed the Warden, I actually could have just rammed Israfil to face for 12, which was a huge mistake on my part. It really did put a lot of risk factor into this matchup, but I mean, I can't think of much that Forest would have that could deal lethal from where they are now anyway. But it was an unnecessary risk. For some reason, I was just thinking of removing that Warden and then going face, and didn't consider anything else. So even with that misplay and very close to dying match in that last one, this deck has done phenomenally, honestly. I've enjoyed the way it's played. It definitely doesn't feel as heavy as the previous Dragon decks I've played is. Like, I mean, I don't know what it is, whether my mindset about the game has just changed, or whether something about this deck in particular has just drawn me to it. Maybe it's the Frenzied Drakes and the Imperial Dragoon, I'm not sure. I've just had a lot more fun playing this deck than I have Ramp Dragon in the past, so hopefully you guys can enjoy it. As always, the deck list will be in the description below. You can find all the other info in the description below, sorry. Everything else you could ever need for Shadowverse will be down there. Make sure to check it out, and I'll catch you guys next time. See ya.